Welcome back to another Division 2 news upload. I'm LtBuzzLitebeer, and I don't know if I'm going to make this a weekly occurrence, but this compressed format seems to work for my time constraints, so we might just need to roll with it. So today, I wanted to discuss a myriad of topics, including YouTube, Skyscraper, and some possible info leaks, Division 3, and of course the Option C statement from the dev team on last week's State of the Game address. Alright, we've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. So coming right out of the gate, I wanted to first talk about YouTube, and more specifically, what the hell has changed to the search and recommendation algorithms in the past few months. Now let me preface this topic with a disclaimer that I don't really spend that much time on YouTube, other than when I'm listening to and researching music tracks for a GMV or music mashup video, but these recent changes are dramatic and they're instantly noticeable. What I am referring to is how the entire site has seemingly been changed over to a media sharing site solely based off of a click-through rate-driven metric. Now, I used to get all sorts of recommendations in my home screen feed, ranging across a huge cross-section of genres, but now it has become laser-focused on only recommending videos that I have either watched before or they fall into an extremely specific category of highly similar to something I may have viewed recently. So the first thing YouTube tries to hit me with is a recommendation to watch a video again, and again, and again, and then the same video seems to pop up in my recommended section and so on and so forth. I guess the whole point of this topic is that the way YouTube seems to currently be structured, you will get bombarded with videos that are highly similar to what you have previously watched, and the scope of this field of vision is extraordinarily narrow. Now, for those of you that regularly watch Division videos, you will see plenty of Division video recommendation pop-ups in your What's Next or recommended tabs, while those of you that watch something else will of course receive recommendations for those particular subjects. Now, if I could guess at what YouTube has done here, it would be that they have decided to completely change the algorithms to only value CTR, or click-through rates, and all other information like watch time, viewer interaction, and impressions are now worthless. In the long run, this really hurts channels like mine and many others that focus on singular topics like a specific video game or franchise, while other channels that cover a wide range of topics are not nearly as affected. Now, I'm not saying that those type of channels are completely immune to this new algorithm, but they just don't seem to be as dramatically affected. But hey, on the bright side, if you were into some kind of obscure or highly questionable genre of video, once you watch one video from that playlist, your recommendation video feeds will be blowing up with more and more videos just like that one. Okay, moving along, and next up is Skyscraper, and I have what may be a bit of new and specific information for you on this one, but let's first talk about the general information swirling around this topic. Although I haven't been as active as I have been in the past months on social media, I still stay in the know and have been following the talking points about all things Division related. Now, the general consensus is that Skyscraper is going to be just like Resistance, while others have argued that it needs to be modeled after Underground. And for those of you that are not understanding what I'm referring to, Resistance and Underground were both loved and replayable game modes from the original Division game, and along with Survival, also highly loved, formed the holy trinity of replayable PvE content in that game. Dark Zone and PvP Survival included. I don't want to get flamed in the comment section about not mentioning PvP. Now, one of the many differences between Div 1 and Div 2 is the content. More specifically, how that content is developed and installed into the live game. You see, Div 1 started off slowly, but was built around replayable content like randomly generated dungeons, horde modes, and random spawns and timer mechanics that kept that game alive and interesting. On the other hand, Div 2 is built solely around narrative content and regular content drops to keep the game going. However, that cycle of drops becomes predictable and boorish as the game builds hype for the new content, delivers the new content, in which the player base devours it for several weeks, and then moves on as the content has now been completely dissected and scrutinized. We have nothing that creates that player engagement loop in Division 2, unlike its predecessor, and brings us back for endless hours of replayable playtime. Well, hopefully Skyscraper will be able to break through and fill that void of missing replayable content in the Division 2. And this is going to bring me to the part of the video where I discuss what I have just learned about this game mode. But first, a really quick disclaimer. I did not data mine this information myself, and I have not experienced any portion of Skyscraper before recording this video, so this could all be false or could change significantly to the upcoming PTS and eventual live release of this mode. Okay, let's dive right in. So first up is the length of Skyscraper, and it looks to be a total of 50 floors, each floor needing to be cleared before moving onwards. The general combat loop for each floor is basically a floor full of enemies that will need to be cleared, culminating in a boss fight, at which point you will move on to the next floor. Safe zones appear once every 10 floors until floor number 40, and it is unclear how these will function. I don't know if these are checkpoints where players can re-equip or change builds, or if they are save points in case your squad wipes and wants to start again, but nevertheless, these zones appear every 10 floors. And here is the last and possibly juiciest bit of information about Skyscraper that I learned in this data mine, and that is the fact that the floor designs are not fixed, but they're instead randomly generated. Now, if all this information is to be believed and proven accurate, this could be a game mode that this game is sorely in need of. Now, of all those data mine points I just covered, if it stays in this format, I am most excited about the randomly generated levels. You see, Underground holds a special place in my heart, with its blend of dark environments, unique architecture, and varying NPC types, but mainly because of its randomly generated levels. With this mechanic brought back for Skyscraper, this could start to break the mold of narrative-driven content for the live game and really push the game in a different direction. Hopefully this will start to answer a few questions for you on the upcoming Skyscraper game mode, and I once again want to state that I did not personally mine this information, and we will need to wait to see if these early details hold true for the live version. Since Massive has a history of preloading huge portions of upcoming content into their games months in advance, and since they seemingly encourage data mining their games with no repercussions, I decided to drop this information on the Division community with the hopes of encouraging a positive discussion about Skyscraper. Next up, I wanted to quickly discuss the Division 3, and at this point we have no confirmed information to go on. Now, do I personally think that the Division 3 is in the works? Yeah, I guess. I mean, we know that the Division 2 went into development weeks after the Division 1 went to market, so it is conceivable that the Division 3 is in this same stage. There is also some rumors about this possibility, as we haven't seen or heard much from Frederick or Drew in quite a while, leading some to speculate that they have been tasked with the Division 3 development. Once again, yeah, I guess this is a possibility and a theory. I used to communicate with Frederick from time to time, but he has stopped following me on Twitter for reasons unknown to me, and I really have no line of communication with that side of the design team, so I can't ask any of them. In fact, I haven't spoken with many members of the original core of designers for the Division in many months. Terry, Tony, Frederick, Drew, and a whole host of others that I used to comm with. Hell, even Julian seems to have drifted off into Division history. Now, I know they're still out there as I see them post to their personal accounts on Twitter, but other than that, I haven't communicated with them in a long time. Sorry, I didn't want to turn this into a personal statement. I wish them only the best. And so let's just turn this back to the topic of the Division 3. Now, I have no ideas of when or even if it will ever come to market, but what I do know is it needs to be a more complete and fleshed out product than the Division 2 was when it launched. I mean, what a blanket statement to say, right? But it's true. I remember testing Division 2 in January 2019 at a pre-launch press event and posting a video shortly thereafter stating my concerns for the state of the game. Now, as I remember, that video got flamed in the comment section, but now, nearly a year and a half later, my statements were proven true. The game was good, but not yet fully ready to go live, and we saw the effects that had on the player base when the initial excitement wore off and the imperfections became noticeable. Now, I have often commented that I enjoyed the 1 to 30 progression through the character level ups and the world building, but after hitting World Tier 5, the game became a mess of endless loot grinding with no real objective in sight. Now, if Division 3 is a thing, I hope it is a game built around progression with replayable game modes, kind of like Division 1 Update 1.8-ish, but from launch day. I want to have access to all those replayable modes, and I don't want to have to wait months, if not years, to get them. I mean, overwhelm me with items to engage with. Maybe on Monday I am farming the DZ, on Tuesday I'm raiding, on Wednesday it's survival squad up day, and you get the picture. All I know is that I used to have that kind of weekly calendar for the Division 1, and I don't for the Division 2. Let's finish off today's video with Massive's decision to write in another option to the RAID leak document discussion. And as I have stated in previous videos, Massive really has two options available to them concerning the confidential RAID document and their investigations. They can either A, choose to acknowledge that a select few had the document and roll back their results or whatever actions they want to take in that Iron Horse race to world's first, or option B, they could conduct their investigations and state publicly that no action would be taken against those that had the document. So naturally, they decided to write in a third option and state that the confidential RAID document was completely derived from data miners sifting through their game files and that they, Massive, had nothing to do with it. Now my first thought is that I knew this was coming. Massive knows the bad press swirling around this hot potato and they want no part of it. Funny thing was, I, along with the majority of the player base, never asked Massive if they leaked the document to those select individuals. I'm not really focused on Massive and if they have any connection to this disaster. If they did, shame on them for diminishing a potentially historic moment in Division lore. Now, do I have doubts as to the statements that the document was completely derived from data miners and information in the game files? Yeah, I do. That RAID document was extremely detailed and well produced with bullet points and itemized descriptions. Now, I've personally seen information pulled from games in raw form and it doesn't look like a publication that could be sold at a bookstore. I digress. Sorry. So instead of really taking their time to explain what information has been evaluated, show us the methods used in your investigation, lay out the case for how it was decided that this information was completely data mined, they instead spent about 30 to 45 seconds on the topic towards the end of last week's stream. Let me lay it out for you. It was basically, hey, who wants to handle this one? Okay, I guess I will. We took a look at the information in the guide, and it was determined that the information was entirely from data miners. The end. Listen, I'm not trying to intentionally make the speaker sound like they were trying to sweep this one under the rug, but they were quite adept at sounding that way themselves. We are not asking if Massive was directly involved, which of course you're going to deny. What we are asking for is if the guide was determined to be fair play, and if not, what are the repercussions for having it? Quickly blurting out that Massive had nothing to do with it was completely irrelevant and quite frankly, instantly cast suspicions on the veracity of your statement. Listen, I get it. Those players bring you much needed attention on social media platforms. They keep the Division name out there and somewhat relevant, much more so than some guy in his channel that keeps busting your chops week after week. But this is my personality. I will keep hammering and hammering a subject by asking very direct questions, and I will keep asking those same questions over and over and over again until I get a straight answer. When I ask a very simple question pertaining to guilty or not guilty, and you instead tell me that the sky is blue, it annoys and insults not only me, but all those intelligent members of your community. Just do us a favor and answer the damn question, and let us know exactly what the definitive answer truly is. Now, I was going to continue on through a whole discourse about how data mining is against the Ubisoft terms of service in many regions of the world, and if the information and document was mined in one of those regions, not only would the actual miners be guilty of a TOS infraction, but all those that received and benefited from the mined information would be guilty as well, but perhaps we should leave that for another day. I'm going to end this week's video right here, and as always, I look forward to reading your feedback in the comment section below. YouTube, Division 3, Skyscraper, the RAID document fiasco, it's all fair game, just please keep your discussions respectful. In case you haven't yet smashed that sub button for intensive Division content, please do so, and don't forget to ring the notifications bell to never miss another upload from my channel. If you liked the video, rate it with a thumbs up, if not with a thumbs down. Check the video description for links to support my channel via Patreon and Teespring. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter for all my latest thoughts concerning most things gaming related, and until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.